I was actually listening to a podcast. I'm not going to give myself too much credit here.
I appreciate you citing your source.
Athletic Football show. Fantastic show. Robert Mays does great work. And they posed the question of which teams can make the Super Bowl this year. And I thought, oh, man, this is going to be a fun one to dive into and
I like it.
break down. And I feel like there's multiple ways to go about this because there's absolutely teams that you go, okay, who are the absolutes? I could see it without even having to, have any talk. Like you could probably book them for a conference championship game if you really want to.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's another level of, yeah, they could probably do it. I could see it. And then I think there's a third tier that might be like, if you squint, if certain things really break right for them. A lot of stuff's got
to go right.
And so, how do you want to play this? Do you want to just kind of put up like a general guesstimate, or do you want to? Let's go through the rounds, right?
I'm gonna throw it out to you first. Let's do this first. And again, 877-881-1053. You guys chime in with your thoughts on this. I said before when we were doing the pre-show, I said, do you think yay or nay more than a quarter of the teams?
And I went with yes.
You said yay.
32 teams. 8 would be a quarter.
Yes.
I think you probably can get to around 12.
Are we talking about legit Super Bowl contenders, by the way?
Yeah, and I think that's where the tiers come. All right, let's go through the tiers then.
Okay, because I'm just going to put it to you like this.
Let's make it easy.
7 teams.
All right, let's go through it. What do you think is the absolute no-brainer? These are contenders for the Super Bowl. They can win the Super Bowl, obviously.
Well, I think the 7 that I came up with it falls.
You got
into that
7
tier.
that are absolutely you.
I think you've got
okay.
In Fred's world.
Sure.
These are the 17. 2 of these 7 teams are going to make the Super Bowl, and everybody else, they've got holes, and I don't buy them.
Okay, so let's go down the list then. The absolute, of course, they can win the Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs are like the easy one.
By the way, I'm from that area, so I just want to make that clear.
All right, wait, hold on. Press pause. Press pause on the conversation.
You take that information however you want.
Press pause on the conversation. Actually, no, we don't have time for that. Kansas City Chiefs.
We can get into that. We got a whole last hour of the show to get into that.
Whether you were from there or not, I think everybody looks at the capabilities.
It's their Super Bowl to lose.
Best quarterback.
Best head coach.
Best fantastic defense.
Absolutely.
And
best D coordinator.
Yeah, I think that all those things come together.
Best tight end. Best tight end girlfriend.
They're okay. Now you're just trying to rile the people up. 877-881.
My daughter's a Swiftie, so I got her and her girlfriend, and girlfriend in the sense of like friends. Apparently, I understand that term has changed in 2024. So
what do you mean changed?
Well,
the way that you're insinuating has always been what girlfriend has meant, hasn't it?
I got asked by my cousin who's 18 when I said, my daughter and her girlfriend, her friend, girlfriend that's a girl.
Yeah, sure.
And she was like, oh, you mean her girlfriend, like girlfriend.
Sure.
And I said, no, like her girlfriend.
Okay.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
I'm sure she appreciates
there's
that.
anything.
Not that. Thank you, Jerry Seinfeld. All right, so Chiefs are clearly in there, right?
100%. That's 1.
Niners. I think Niners are absolutely in that
1B,
place, right?
1B. Chiefs are 1A. San Francisco's 1B.
Do you have anyone else in that group of like, yeah, they absolutely are in there? Because I think I still got some in there.
I got Baltimore in that group.
I was going to say the same.
I think I have Baltimore a tier down.
I mean, look, let's call it what. And look, I'm
glad that I'm on the negative side of this, by the way, because look, I think that this ultimately, a lot of this has to do with quarterbacks. A lot of times, Niners, we don't have to get into that particular discussion, but a lot of this is like quarterback discussion. Do you have a quarterback at an elite level?
That's what
it starts
with all 7 of my teams that I've got in it. It's because of their quarterback.
In large part.
Number 1.
Right.
100%.
And I know that Lamar Jackson ends up being polarizing, and I end up being kind of like the guy who was supporting, and it feels like I'm on the negative side, which I actually appreciate because I still think that that's really good. I have questions about Baltimore's defense. They've lost some pieces, including...
And the D coordinator.
Exactly, including Mike McDonald, and I think that's a big one.
They'll still be good, though.
I think so as well, but like they were literally the best defense in the league last year, and I do wonder...
The Chiefs' defense was a little bit better.
I think that they, like, if we're talking about over the entirety of the season, I'd go Baltimore, but I appreciate what you're talking about there. Because I thought that the defense of the Chiefs was what carried them.
Well,
I thought a lot of people made it about the offense. I thought the defense was the story.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why I think that, and I think that's why people forget just how good that Chiefs defense was last year, because if you don't have that defense, you're not getting. You may not even make the playoffs for as bad as that offense was at times.
You've got an ally in me in that regard. But I think
L'Jarius Sneed helped change the entire conversation about Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson may have had one of the worst statistical MVP seasons I've ever seen last year, and I'm a Lamar Jackson guy. And again, He's got pieces this year. You got to believe that Mark Andrews is going to be healthy. You got Derrick Henry in the backfield. Okay, so
I don't view that all that differently from where their offense was, but their offense does need to take a little bit of a step in order to.
He's never had a Derrick Henry behind him.
No, but they've always had like a many running backs that they kind of roll in there.
Anybody that you've game planned for like Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry's potentially a future Hall of Fame running back.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know.
Baltimore's never had that, and now, I mean, I'm not saying that you haven't had to game plan for their running game, but now it's a different deal because now all of a sudden it's like, okay, go ahead and put 8 guys in the box, and then let Lamar do what he does.
Sure. No, I'm with you. I don't know how heavily teams will do that 8-man's in the box. Even though then don't and see what happens. But I think that's always been the case with this team. And I think Todd Monken has also taken it to a place where they need to throw the ball more. Look, ultimately, offense I'm still sold on. I just wonder how much better is that offense going to be compared to the defense where year over year you can't expect a defense to be as elite as it felt like that Baltimore defense was. I have questions there. And then, of course, the obvious thing that keeps coming up is like, is Lamar going to be capable of getting to that next level? And I know that people have that. So in a cautionary place, I'm not putting them in the absolute place, but I absolutely think that this is a team that can win the championship. So just numbers-wise, we could put them in there. I think the Detroit Lions are absolutely in that place as well.
I agree. No, I like them. I mean, they should have beat San Francisco last year. They should have been in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
If they don't spit the bit and you live by the gun, you die by the gun. You live by the 3, you die by the 3. You live by the 4th down conversion, you die by the 4th down conversion. And that's exactly what happened. And Dan Campbell last year. So,
but everything they did last year felt sustainable. Everything they did last year feels like year over year they can also do it as well.
This ain't your father's Lions, man.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
This is a new look, and I'm a big fan of Amon-Ra St. Brown.
There it is.
And can we get a reality show with his dad? Because I'll tell you what, his dad is a monster.
Yeah.
He might have been the highlight of receiver last night.
Okay, there you go. So, I mean, that's 4 teams there, right?
That's 4, yes.
All right.
I got 3 more, and then the rest.
I feel like the Bengals are one of those that I'm not sure if I go.
Teams.
Absolutely, because I think that they had some defensive losses and injuries keep popping up. But I think that they're enough. Absolutely,
Amarillo by morning is their defensive coordinator. So
Amarillo, yeah, and he's a fantastic defensive.
He's too old to be a head coach. That's why he's still a D coordinator. But look, they're going to go as far as Joe Burrow takes them.
So that's 5 when we go Kansas City, San Fran, Detroit, Baltimore, Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm. That AL North's going to be loaded.
Yeah, the AL North is tough. Or AFC, rather. Yeah, how do we get into baseball?
We're just mixing baseball.
All right, so that's 5 of them. Outside of that, now we're getting to some interesting places. I think that the Green Bay Packers are in this place where they're like kind of a step down from those teams.
I got 2 teams that I'm going to throw in that mix, though.
Okay.
That I think you can still throw in that 5.
Yeah, who are we talking about then?
Philly. I think we're silly to be sleeping on Philly.
Here's my issue with Philly, right? Philly is in a place where they definitely have the talent, although low-key, pass rush, not nearly as blessed as they have been.
D-line, though.
They're changing both coordinators.
They are.
Kellen Moore comes in as an offensive coordinator.
Look, you've been in Dallas for a lot longer than I have.
Kellen Moore can draw up plays. I think that play sequencing, which was Shane Steichen when he was there 2 years ago, that's his calling card. He's great at that.
Yeah.
Calling the right play in the right time.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that we had questions about with Kellen when he was here.
Right.
Has he developed some of that? Has he gotten better at that? Because I think that is going to be something that's necessary. And then Vic Fangio goes, and he's the defensive coordinator up there now. I think that will help them out a good amount, but he plays a particular defense that I think you can get at. But I agree with you that Philadelphia should be there. That's just the question that I have, and you're going to that's a big part of this is making sure that your play caller's in the right place.
What's our boy's name? The D tackle, is it Jalen Carter?
Yeah,
our boy that slipped. That was in conversation for the number 1 pick a year ago, and then slid down. And he had a monster start of the year, and then kind of lost steam there as the season wore on. I think with what they did in the draft, I think with what they've got on that front 7, again, not that pass rush is going to be kind of a pass rush by committee, but I think Jalen Carter, you are going to see the foundational, and if we've seen one thing in the NFL, it's where defensive tackles have started to really make hay, and it started kind of, Aaron Donald was one of those guys. Chris Jones has been one of those guys. I think Jalen Carter is the next guy of that ilk, and I think he's going to anchor what should be. But to your point, they've got the talent, but is the coaching going to rise to the occasion?
So those ones are there. I think the text line gets to another one. They're like, no, Houston, absolutely. I think Houston's here. They add huge defensive reinforcements. That offensive
scary.
That bring back their offensive coordinator. Offensive talent. Yeah, offensive talent is there and it's continuing to get better. They add Diggs, and then if C.J. Stroud is any level of what he was last time,
he's going to get better.
It's going to be they're going to be problematic. I think Houston's in there.
The only reason I would put Houston on that second tier and why I didn't have them in that top 7, as we've seen in the NFL, there are levels to this, as the kids like to say, and I think they're going to look. They looked off terrible offensively against the Baltimore Ravens in that first round last year, or excuse me, in the second round last year.
But I think some of that also is just Baltimore had an elite defense.
Well, Baltimore did have an elite defense. It also didn't hurt either that they had no running game and they had nobody to throw to, and their running game, or excuse me, their offensive line was patchwork at best.
True.
They fixed that up this year. So
with Joe Mixon as well.
I mean, look, you got one of the best offensive tackles in Laramie Tunsil
Yeah.
On that left side. They're going to go as far as C.J. Stroud making that next step, and how much of that next step does he make? And again, you're not sneaking up on anybody this year.
No, and they got a first place schedule, all that stuff. All right, we need to pick up the pace on this. I do think Green Bay is one of these teams. I think you saw the offensive talent, and it's a lot of young guys. They pass the ball around, and the defense there. Some other teams that I like in this, I think that the Rams are actually one of these teams that are still in there.
I like them in that second tier.
This is where we get into that.
They're in that second tier. You're forgetting Buffalo, too. Where are you at on the Buffalo Bills?
I think Buffalo is one of those where I start squinting a little bit.
Would you? Well, okay, so let me ask you this. Do you think then between Houston, Green Bay, you just mentioned the Rams.
Yeah.
Like you have the Bills below that group.
Remember the Bills? They went kind of. They pushed themselves all in. They had they've lost a lot of. There's a lot of talent drip there.
They had offensively, right? They lost a couple defensive guys, but I'm telling you right now, we're gonna see the onus this year is on Josh Allen. And I really believe,
more on him.
And I get that. Okay, Fred, that's way to go out on a limb here. You got rid of your number 1 wide receiver, which I think is going to be addition by subtraction. I think Dalton Kincaid and
Dawson Knox.
I'm not worried about him because there's a reason why
You're talking about Keon Coleman?
I like Keon Coleman, but the running back, Dalvin Cook's little brother.
James Cook?
Is it James Cook? I think it's James Cook. And this wide receiver group now I know you got my boy MVS in the mix as well, which, whatever, he's good for a catch every 4 games, but I think Dalton Kincaid, to all you fantasy football nerds out there. Are you a fantasy football nerd, by the way?
Yeah, not as much, but I keep up with that.
You got a team?
Not of the last 2 years.
All right.
But look, that's 10. I could probably, if you're interested in, do you care about the Jets?
Give me a Hail Mary.
But I wanted to bring this back around real quick for a moment.
Do we want to finish it up in the next segment?
Let's finish it up here because I think the Dallas Cowboys is where you ultimately stop and you go.
We got to forget about the Browns.
How much do you believe in that quarterback situation?
Well, that's the issue, right? And
that remains the issue.
I hate to say that I'm a Deshaun Watson fan. Is that okay to say in 2024?
No, it's not.
Say that?
Nope.
We can't say we're a Deshaun Watson fan.
Nope.
I really want to see Deshaun because I know things about how Deshaun got treated there at the end of his tenure in Houston.
Okay.
And so I am Team Deshaun. May not be a popular thing to say, but
that is Fred Davis.
If you knew
not the opinions of Reginald Attitude.
If you knew how Deshaun got treated behind the scenes,
but with these Dallas Cowboys, right? I think there was a clear some of the things you were talking about Houston. Yeah. The running game is going to be a question, not just when you talk about not having a running back. Right, but yeah.
You're about Dallas?
In Dallas, right?
Their running game's pathetic.
You don't have running backs, and you have 2 major points that you're having to look at rookies coming in and giving you some impact there. Defensively, I know Zimmer's coming in, but how much benefit of the doubt are you giving even Trayvon Diggs, who I know we believe to be a great player? He's coming off of a big-time injury. I think there's enough reason.
Brandon Cooks?
Brandon Cooks has not been a particularly fantastic utilized in this offensive system. Yes, he has the ability, but is he going to be used well? And I think that's where you come back to ultimately one of my biggest things is offensively, when you talk about play calling, how much do you trust Mike McCarthy, who is running a system that feels very mid-aughts than it does modern era? I think that was one of the big issues that you came with. And that's before you even get to what I think a lot of people will have an issue with is, do they feel like Dak Prescott can do the thing in the big moments? I think there's a lot of questions that make me squint really hard before I put the Cowboys in there. And that's why they're really borderline. And I can get to probably about 11, 12 teams before I even go, should the Dallas Cowboys be a team that you look at as a contender? Even as I think they're still a decent team, a solid team.
Look, they're going to be fighting just to make the playoffs in their own division. I mean, this division got better in 2024. So they've got, again, just getting to the playoffs is going to be a hill to climb for this Dallas Cowboy team.